All right, are we ready to rock and roll? Is this the time for corking? Are we cork boarding? Are we board
I think it's
corking?
time for CORK-BOARD Corner. This is the first independent CORK-BOARD Corner. It is its own entity on YouTube. Hello, YouTube, and welcome to the first of many.
Yeah, we're doing a new thing here. It'll probably be a tiny bit shorter, but we might have a little bit of talk. And this is going to be all cork board all the time. Should we do the Jinbei's fish first then?
You know, might as well. This is a new format. Let's do what we want. Let's start with,
So, part of me was like, let's do something really interesting and just make it the most dangerous fish in the world and make it like a rock puffer fish.
Interesting.
Because then I thought, like, then you've got the great poison. He sticks out his prickles. He'd still be bigger, right? So he smashes into people and then poisons and they die. And I like that.
Okay.
But then I was like, no. I also thought about a piranha as well, or a stonefish.
Yeah.
Because I'm trying to...
So I feel like I can say this because you've already leaned away from it. Piranha just has too much henchman energy for me for some reason.
That's exactly what it was.
Like, Piranha has real, like, dangerous henchman vibes.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly what I thought. So it must really, because I was like, the idea of a piranha feels like something that you would have like a group of them and they would be henchmen together and they'd always move in like kind of a small group and they would just go through and decimate people. And I was like, that's cool, but that's not boss.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I was like, yeah, no. I thought of a moray eel because we haven't done anything eely.
Okay.
And I thought maybe a moray eel, its shape is strange. I wonder if it could also smash into things. It tears out vicious bites of people. And I was like, oh, don't hate that one either. But in the end, no, it didn't feel right either.
Okay.
So I looked up the most deadly fish in the world.
All right.
A lot of the same type of things, which was very weird. The most vicious one apparently is a parasite that's in the Amazon. Don't even want to talk about that one because I taught kids about it years and years ago.
Yeah, I am aware of the fish, and let's not speak of it.
No, let's never speak its name again in hopes that we never have to worry about it.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so I think that I've decided to go with something that's a little more... I am going for now for the oceanic whiptail shark.
The thresher shark?
Yeah, the whip tip.
Hell yeah. I'm a big thresher shark fan. Did you know they can make sonic booms with their tail snaps to stun fish?
Yep, that's what I was reading about. And so I was like, if I was Jinbei, I would want to be something that could make sonic booms. I really thought that the lionfish and the stonefish would be awesome. The lionfish is a real show off. It's absolutely fantastic. If his head could be lionfish-y with that whole like ruffle down the back of his neck, I thought that would be so cool. Oh my God, am I talking myself into a lionfish? But in the end, I just imagined him as being a lot bigger. Okay. Yeah, for now, that's what we're going to do. Sonic boom. He can smash you to kingdom come.
All right.
Absolutely dangerous, horrifying.
Thresher shark?
Who knows if I'll change it, but for now it is thresher shark.
Do we want to start getting into the theories?
Number one in the theory sun.
Okay.
So I'm looking for I need to look at mantra from other people because I was looking at some of the other characters in here and I know that some of the other ones had mantra. Like Shanks has a mantra-like thing. It's not mantra, but it's something like mantra when you're thinking about the way that he's able to predict the types of things that are taking place. So I'm trying to figure out what is this other thing that Shanks has. And it was funny because when you and I were talking, I was saying like Buggy also has that kind of mantra-esque vibe to him.
Where there's a couple times people attack him from behind and he still manages to separate his body at the last second so that people miss.
Yeah, exactly.
And it feels weird to attribute such a big thing to Buggy, but it really feels like Buggy only ever got hit if he was distracted.
Yeah, so it seems to me that it's some sort of Buggies almost feels like a low level, not a strong mantra.
Yeah, much worse at it if
Sorry,
he has it.
mantra. Yeah. And then I'm going to come back to these ones because I put them on the side here, but then I ended up figuring out something else about them. Because I wrote down in here Poseidon and Neptune, elder planets, because the elders, I decided earlier, which we talked about, are definitely a council of elders are not stars. I think they're planets because for me they would belong in the human group.
Mhm.
And if something belongs in the human group, then planets within the solar system makes more sense than making them stars.
Mhm.
So once I made the elders, the five elders, human, I also and planets. It also makes sense that they're planets because they are the five original planets that you could see without a telescope, that you could see with the naked eye, are called the elders. And so it makes sense that they're planets in the sky.
Yeah.
And so I started to try to attribute things. No, so you are remembering it right. They are just the five elders, but the names of the planets that you can see with the naked eye are also called the five elders.
I also wanted to say, I had told Mama Drawk, because our rule was if she wanted to be theorizing, I was going to tell her anything that a Japanese reader would have access to, and they were introduced in Japanese as the five elder celestials, and that can be translated as either the five elder planets or the five elder stars. So I told Mama Drawk that those were two possible translations for the five elders.
And
original
you said
title in
that a
Japanese.
million years ago when we first met them, and then I started to play around with them and think about what that means from our perspective. And then I was wondering, like, okay, can they represent the weapons? How could they represent the weapons? Because I keep thinking about these weapons that were on the earth. And so I put that in there and then I moved past it and I moved on to the bell. Everything ends up coalescing in the end, but you'll find out how that went.
Sorry, five elder celestial bodies, not five elder celestials.
Yeah. So then I started to think about the bell and how I said that I wanted to call that for me, being inside of the sky and being in Skypiea felt like joy, and that I would talk and I said it just gives me that feeling of absolute utter joy. And I said I would rename it Joy. And I started to think about why it is that I felt that way and what about Skypiea reminded me of joy and made me feel so joyful. Maybe it's because I'm a god. Because in my opinion, the bell is joy. Think about every time the bell rings, it brings joyfulness to all of the creatures that are inside of it, especially the ones that are godlike. So they keep calling Nola a god of the sky. And when the bell rings, Nola goes absolutely peaceful and dances to the sound of the bell and feels this deep inner peace and contentment. And so did Luffy. When Luffy heard the bell, Luffy felt this deep inner peace and contentment. And Luffy is a god. Fight me.
That is something that you have decided is your canon, and
it's canon for me. And so I started to think about that connection too, because we're always having these conversations around when I was thinking about Skypiea, about is there a bunch of other bells or music or things that create sonic harmony? Because inside of Japan, wa is the name for harmony and conscious living and creating harmony. So I was wondering, like, are there, this bell gives wa to all the people there. And so because of it, I wondered, are there other bells, other instruments, other things on the planet that are also going to give things this sense of wa? And then as I was coming back to it and asking why that happened, I went back into the five elder planets because I wanted to know what they associated with. So I started to look up the original planets of Earth and what things, just a minute, higher beings, the title God is different from king up there, and now took it too literally. Yeah, and I looked up Kami inside, or Kami inside of Japanese lore, and they do say that it can be a godlike name or goddish name. So then I looked up Saturn, Mercury, Venus, and Mars. and what they would be connected to. And one of them would be agriculture. One of them is they have all these different things. So I started to place them with the 5 elders who we know about. And then I was asking myself, like, okay, if there's these gods, then what are the other planets and how are the other planets being represented? And then I had this idea out of nowhere where I was like, okay, we know that one of them is called Pluton and that one of them is called Poseidon. And then obviously Pluton would be Pluto. What is Poseidon? So I went to look that up. And then I tried to make them fit inside of kind of a Greek narrative or a Roman narrative at first, and started imagining like who these weapons could be attached to, or how they were being hid in a Greek, or how they were being hidden in a Greek and Roman way. And then when I was talking to Drawk, I realized that I didn't need to do that. I could think of them through the lens that I was already thinking of them through. So for instance, I have Susanoo down here guarding the underworld from Izunami. And then I have the 3 children. And I've already said that I think that Luffy is the sun god, and that would be the Amaterasu line out of Izunami and Izunagi. And then we have, let me get her down. And then we have Tsukiyomo no Mikoto, and that would be, I dropped my little god thing, and that would be my, it's okay, I found my god, don't worry, don't freak out, I found my god. And then down here at the bottom, we have Susanoo, who would be guarding the underworld. And then I realized I'm trying too hard. I know how this fits. And I've decided, yeah, there is 3 super, super dangerous weapons, and they are divinities. And one of them is the god Amaterasu. One of them is the god Tsutsame no Mikoto, and one of them is Susanoo. And that means Luffy is also one of the most dangerous weapons. And we don't know who the other ones are yet.
So to establish all of the predictions in that, Luffy is an ancient weapon. The ancient weapons are people, is a necessary part of that. The ancient weapons are named for the Greco-Roman gods, but they are also conceptually or literally the 3 divinities from Japanese mythology. What else do we need to throw in there as a prediction?
Yeah, so one of them, that would make Luffy...
And you think there's 3 ancient weapons? That's another prediction. Which makes sense if you're seeing the elders as elder planets, because then there's only 3 planets left to pick from.
Because then there's only 3 planets left, which would be Pluto. Yeah, and then that would make Luffy Uranus.
Yeah.
And so that would mean that the next ancient weapon as a whole separate thing that is going to be talked about is going to be Uranus.
Okay.
That's another prediction.
That Uranus is the next and last ancient weapon.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then this person, would you say, but the sun and the planets of the tank? I don't know what to tell you. Luffy is a sun god, but Luffy is a sun god. He has nothing to do with the planet thing other than that he is a weapon and he is named after this planet, in my feeling.
Okay.
Yeah, you got to be very careful with how you pronounce Uranus. Then
that is actually worth considering then. Like, does it make more sense for you if Luffy's the sun to be something the planets revolve around, or to be one of the things named after a planet? I think that's worth questioning.
I already have that on one of my question sheets in the same way that I have on a question sheet. Here, I'm going to move my microphone. I'm sorry for the noise. So, for instance, when you have Dragon saying, as long as people hunger for freedom, then he says, a pirate, eh? Not a bad idea. And I asked myself, why would he say that? If Blackbeard and Shank, or sorry, if Whitebeard and Shanks are already pirates, why would he think that is an interesting fact in my world when I think the way that I do? And that's good. You know how I feel about when you have things that don't work. That just means later on I'm going to have to play with my ideas and
refine a little.
Yeah, refine it. But this is where I am with the information that I have. There's only so much I can do, right? So that same question came to me too, because it feels like either they are the weapons incarnate. And that's one prediction, because I'm so far ahead of this idea without enough information that my other idea is they could be the protectors of that weapon.
Okay.
So I have two different directions that I go with that. So either Luffy is the weapon along with the other two people, or Luffy is the ultimate protection. But here's the thing that made me kind of lean to being weaponry, is that if you are trying to calm down people and you have the power of joy and the power of the bell. So the thing is that the sound of the bell brings joy and calm to the gods. And then they all feel like partying, dancing, getting together, playing more music, beating their drums, burning a fire. And so when you have this going on, it feels like joy is the weapon against weapons.
First of all, I think Kaito is right that we should add both of the two things you said to predictions. Might as well.
I would agree.
And then also, interesting. So we'll add a prediction that joy is the weapon against the weapons, and that the bell's job is to bring joy.
Joy. So joyful drumming, joyful bells. It's the bell rings, and the bell brings about this need to play music, to bang out your effervescent feelings, to be grateful to be alive. And so this is kind of what I wondered about that.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I have, is it possible that Izunami's character is trying to use her children as weapons? Is it possible that it's a warning and they're not necessarily weapons, but they're necessarily used as weapons? And Izunami, the character that plays her, whatever the hell that is a dark force from hell or from the underworld that is controlling and manipulating and trying to puppet and move things around.
Where do you think that figure is in the world? Do you have any prediction for what system they're part of, where they would be?
Where that figure is in our world? Yeah, so she's supposed to be theoretically locked in Hades. And it makes you wonder, because Susanoo's character is supposed to be blocking off and protecting the gateway to the underworld, right? Mm-hmm. And so I don't know if I think yet that she has already escaped and Susanoo's idea of character has failed and she is in it. If she's in it, I mean, I can't imagine, is she trying to act like an everyday normal? Well, then she would either be in the government trying to influence it from the inside, like that elder. Remember that elder we met? What was her damn name? She was 450 million years old and she worked for the government. Did you just laugh?
What?
Did you just laugh at me calling the 450-year-old?
Are you talking about the Marine Tsuru?
I think so. She would be like Tsuru, somebody like, yeah, see, some people knew where I was going. Izunami would be someone like Tsuru who had power to control and manipulate and try to put herself in. She would either do that and be hiding out in public, but I can't imagine her wanting to look old, right? Because the original telling of the story when she gets locked underworld as one of the two grand gods is that her husband ran away from her because she was falling apart and had maggots. So I can't even imagine her wanting to look gross. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like she would see aging as being gross. I see it as a privilege that shows you're not dead. So then I wondered whether or not she would want to put herself in a more middler position and be like a pirate person. And if so, she could be one of the pirates that one of the ones we haven't met yet. And then she might just make herself open, but she can't be. I don't know. Could we come back to that, because I have an idea and I want to talk it out on the thing?
I think none of that's like confirmed, but I think you can take a bit of time to think on all that.
Yeah, I just want to come back to that in a minute because it's an interesting question, but it kind of overlaps with another idea that I want to get to first. Now I start asking a bunch of questions. So, like, did Gol D Roger see himself as a weapon and know that he was a reincarnation of Amaterasu? Did he know that he was representation, or was the divine in there? So is Luffy also a following of this? Will Luffy get memories if he is also kind of a reincarnation or the next level of this same god? And then I wondered if there's some sort of time overlap, because I'm like, okay, I don't know how to explain it, but it feels like Gol D Roger both exists and doesn't exist. And it's making me crazy. Because
Okay.
you know the thing that you said to me that you say all the time that makes me want to poke you in the
Yeah,
forehead?
whenever you tell me that Gold Roger's still alive.
And then what do you say to me?
Well, of course he's alive, man. Dies when he's forgotten.
God, I still hate it. But it started to make me wonder because you have people talking to him, people like Crocus talking to him as if he's there right now, in a very he's there right now way. You have the idea that he's dead, but he feels like he's dead and yet he's present, because also, what was the name of the doctor?
Hiraluk or
The doctor that was with,
I can't remember her name.
Hair. It's yeah, that's the one, Kara.
Kureha, yeah. Okay, there we
Kureha.
go. Couldn't
So
remember her name. That was killing me.
It felt like between Kureha and Crocus that both of them were talking about Gol D Roger is still existing. They talked about him in, yeah, there is so many Doctors Bloom tonight. They were talking about him as if he was still in existence. She said, oh, is that what he's calling himself now? Which made him feel ephemerally like still existing in some way, right?
I mean,
and I'm like,
my take is that's thematic. It is. I think it is just a thematic thing. And again, this is my reading from where I was when you were at. This is not future knowledge. It was that it's meant to be emblematic of that idea that I keep saying of a man dies and he's forgotten, that he is still there because no one will ever forget the impact he had on the world and the people who knew him. And that this is Oda showing us how significant this person is, that like he is still there for all of these people.
The Dian dream. Yeah, that's great. But it feels both like he exists and doesn't exist at the same time, in a very real way and a very not. That's what they call him now. Not that's what he calls himself now. Yeah,
So
no, that's what they call him now. That's what I said.
Yeah.
Well,
not this time.
So that's what they call him now. Made me feel like dude is still existing, and in some way. And so I'm starting to wonder if there's like an overlap of time, almost the way that we have like, because I can't decide how to divide up my board. I keep thinking like, and I talked to you about this, do I want to do it in 3 pillars? Not necessarily, but kind of yes, because I know that there's 3 pillars of existence. And so I can put on 3-pillar information until I actually come to the right thing. But like, I do only have a lot of surmising. I have evidence. And so I don't want to create a whole thing around something that then falls down too completely. Or should I divide it between humans, animals, and divinity, et cetera, et cetera? And then I started to wonder, what about the weird ideas I have? Where the hell do I put Gol D Roger? Because for me, he's neither dead nor alive. He's something else. He's in some sort of other area, and I can't and yeah, reincarnation. I have all these question marks around it. It says reincarnation, question mark, time overlaps, question mark, time forward, time back. I don't know, question mark. And then we'll come back to that because then I had another idea. These are just things that I was thinking of because I was looking at my board, and because I'm trying to put it together, I'm attempting to pull things off when they no longer make sense or ask new questions. So people always ask me and wonder, like, how am I making these inferences and how am I deciding things? And I don't mind being wrong. That's the first step. I understand that they're inferences. I understand, even though Drawk and I had a little argument about it, I do know the difference between something being proof and evidence. But I also ask myself questions on the other end about how I can be wrong. I love doing that. But in order to clean off some of the board and be able to move things around, I started to look at my questions and then try to answer some of them. And then I have the cardinal directions. So I was thinking about the cardinal directions and all the things that work and all the things that don't work about them. And I had this idea of the 5 elders don't want the directions, what I would call the cardinal directions, to meet together. Like they were quite upset about the idea of Red Hair Shanks, who I believe is the South, going to meet Whitebeard, who I believe is the West.
Okay.
And I have this idea that Luffy acts almost like a magnet, that when pulled together with all the directions, when you have the Azure Dragon and you have the Vermilion Bird and everyone come together into the center, which would be Luffy as the yellow dragon, the center of it,
Yep.
that somehow creates a different power when they are together. The 4 directions pulled together with Luffy in the center creates an ultimate kind of power.
Okay.
And so that's why I think the government was like, we don't want Red Hair Shanks hanging out with Whitebeard, because they don't like it when the different directions, which are supposed to be in different areas, come together, because when they are a unit, that is some sort of ultimate power, and Luffy is the center of that power, and he pulls them together, and that's what, I don't know what the word I would use on, turns it on, activates. I'll use activates. That's what we'll do. That's much better than turns it on, which could be taken in multiple ways, especially with the people of the interwebs. Throughout the world, there is things like the bell, and those are the things that when connected. So, okay, it's stupid to say this. There's a few reasons why I think this. You know, the weird little scene, I think it's 303 or 304, when they get together and they create a weird little band on top of their rafty thing. Did you guys get that in yours?
What?
Because I got, like, in the colored version I have from Japan, the Straw Hats had like a little band on a raft on, I think it was like a chapter 304, and they got together and played joyful music and they all took on instruments. Thank you, Timo. Was it in 303?
Okay.
Started to make me add up to the other thing where Robin has that great panel where she's looking at all the different poneglyphs lined up, and there's threads throughout them going from one to the other, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it started making me think about how each time there's a poneglyph, is there also going to be something that's part of a thing that together creates a harmony of sound, joyful sounds, joyful music, joyful jubilee, that when connected together is an anti weapon. Anti-weapon?
Apparently that's a filler cover story that's colored? Okay.
It is. It's a filler cover story. Yeah, but it was when I was reading that little filler cover story
that I started thinking about it.
That it got me to think about this idea of, yeah, okay, maybe that's what I was thinking about with the bell. Because you know what happens in the arc with Skypiea is the bell is everything. The bell is it's everywhere. It's part of the whole thing. And yeah, it's important. And yeah, it says that it rings down, and he hears it, and Cricket understands that his ancestor has been finally had his reputation restored and can feel vindicated for all those years of calling him a liar. And that's fantastic. And finally, the people of Skypiea and Wiper and his whole family and his nation can feel joy at having had met up to their expectations. But there's too much hype around the bell for that to be it. And then when they talk about how the bell could be heard across all the oceans, that it would ring clearly across the oceans, I was like, there's more to the bell. The bell is not done. So if there's more to the bell, are there going to be a number of instruments similar to the bell that together create music, joyful music that's going to help to save them? In my notes, I have these things where I drew the poneglyphs together, and then above them, I drew some instruments. I was like, what are ancient instruments? Well, bells are symbols of joy and warning and all sorts of things across the entire world in different things. The next most obvious one that I would put way before bells is drums. So I was like, is there going to be something that is if we get to a thing that has like a powerful drum, I'll be like, oh yeah, Okay, we're on the
So
right path.
do we want to mark down powerful drums?
Yeah, that there'll be some sort of similar to the bell. It's got to be something that's kind of a similar idea as the bell. That is like a drumming instrument, because drums, in my opinion, drums should be first. So maybe that would be too obvious or something.
I mean,
but
but we didn't
drums are the
necessarily
oldest.
find the things in the order that they were built.
No, but drums are your number one instrument. So we are going to find another instrument similar to the bell in what it can do, that when it comes together, it will reverberate throughout the world, and that will be drums. I was trying to think of other things other than the bell and drums. I was thinking about like meditation bowls. I was thinking about different instruments that have strings. And I was trying to think of something that was ancient enough. And I'm like kind of stuck on another instrument that, because the other problem is it's got to be something really big, right? You could have huge drums like the Kwakudal
Sorry, you go.
Have a huge drum that they all play together. I was also thinking about wind chimes, like kind of like not wind chimes, but like giant chimes and giant pieces.
If you're going for string and big, there's only one thing I can think of that's very big and string.
Are you thinking of what's it called? Angels play?
Yeah, I was thinking of a harp. Harps can be as big as you want.
Harp. Yeah, I was thinking of a harp too, but I don't know if I'm in a like gong. Gong is almost like if a drum and a bell had a baby.
Yeah, gong is kind of the drum of the bell world.
Yeah, and that's a really good thing, but I don't know. Yeah, let's think on this, because there's got to be more music. Is there more music? I think so. I think there has to be more to this.
More music. Let's bring it down.
Pipe organs or something.
Do you think there's a specific song that must be played by the instruments, or do you think it's just they all must be chimed?
See, I just don't know yet.
Fair enough.
This is so new to me. This is something that I thought of.
This is a new thing you're stumbling into. I'm just trying to poke at it to see how much you've put together for this plan.
I started stumbling across this idea. You heard me last time when we were talking, and I was like, there's more to this damn bell, because
you brought up the idea of multiple instruments a little bit before, but I think now you're feeling more solid about it, it feels like.
Well, the reason I'm feeling more solid is because the more I started to think about the bell and all the symbolism of joy that it brought, I then started to think people had such an interesting response. And I'm like, who had the biggest response? Because Eminem immediately pointed out that who he called, did he call Nola God of the Sky? Was that what it was?
I don't recall.
It was something like that, God of the Sky, I think. And so when he called him that, and Nola had such a big experience, I was trying to think who else was most affected by the music. And it was the most affected to be the ones that I think have godlike roles. And the ones who didn't like it were who? Eminem. Eminem hated it. So it worked against him. Oh my God. So you could say that the people of One Piece need to be saved by the bell.
Oh my God.
You know what, Narwhal? Thank you for that, Narwhal. Thank you.
Are you saying that then Eneru has to be a figure who is not a god and is like a usurper of goddom, calling himself a god?
I don't know.
If you're saying gods enjoy the bell and he hates it,
this was my thinking around that. I was trying to say, like, okay, does that make him a not god, or does that make his intentions bad? Right? So this is what I was trying to say. Like, does the bell work in an opposite way? And the future other instruments, the drums or whatever else there are, is it a false god moment? Or is it that their intentions are nefarious? And so, yeah, that idea, the benevolent and malevolent gods. Yeah, the idea that you could be a malevolent god and the bell would tone against you. The tone of the bell would grate against you. But I don't know. I'm not there yet. It's too new.
All right.
Too new.
We're exploring new territory there. Do we have any other theorizing we've done?
The D could be divinity.
Okay, add another D.
Because I was like, why didn't we put the D as divinity? The D could be.
Is that the end of the cork board? Have we reached conclusion? Have we corked our final board?
I mean, I have some crazy ideas. I have some ideas I don't want to be true. I don't need to do any favorites, but I'm going to do an overall favorites of the entire series so far.
Okay, I guess we can do that when we do these, because these are about the whole series.
Number 1. Are we doing other than Luffy? Is Luffy his own tier?
I think if we're willing to just say Luffy wins, he's the best, we can just move on.
Yeah, Luffy is on the chart every time. If you don't love Luffy at this point in the story, you're in the wrong manga.
Yeah, how could you not love this boy at this point? He's so perfect. He's the perfect protagonist.
Yeah, so Luffy is not in this one. He's off on the side, hanging out, waiting as exactly. Thank you, Timo. He's off over being Mr. Zero Band, like, who's coming for dinner with me right now? And I'm going to say that for me, number. Yeah, no, you can't put her in because you'll take her off and she'll cry, and that's not nice. Don't start with anything with Nami. Okay, I'm not going to put Nami in until I'm certain, okay?
Let's also say this is a list for like the characters who we're doing. The only animal character who will be included is Chopper. That way you don't have to compare your love of cute animals with your love of story characters. No
animals. I'm actually just kind of straw hatting right now. If I'm going to be honest,
I'm just doing straw hats. Okay.
I'm just doing straw hats at the moment.
Fair. So this is just your favorite straw hats. This is the best of the crew.
Currently, I said no settings. Okay, so I'm going to say that number 1 on the crew for me is, okay, this is odd. Don't say it. Don't do it. Yeah, no.
Okay.
It's Nami.
Ooh, this is so dangerous. Oh, I'm worried.
God.
I'm worried.
Oh, no, what have I done?
I'm worried. I'm so scared.
Okay, just.
Oh.
Okay, she's awesome. She's gone through a huge learning curve. Right now, she's on the upswing. So I'm not talking overall, blah, blah, blah. I'm talking at this point in the story, starting here. I've just really seen her do so much growth.
She's great. Yeah.
So she is. Okay, let me think. I can't put her above Zoro.
Oh no, why did you do this? Was this on purpose?
No, because listen.
Was this intentional?
I'm getting really the most joy out of Nami these days, but like Zoro.
Did you do it on purpose?
I'm sorry. It's going to go Zoro first.
I think you did. You think you knew what you were doing?
No, number 2 is Nami. I really didn't. I really thought I could keep her there. And then I just tried to keep her there without putting Zoro, and I just couldn't. Oh God, I'm the worst Nami person. Okay, listen, I'm keeping her at number 2. I don't even give a crap if it's. I don't even care anymore. She's staying at 2. I'm making 3 Sanji. Sanji, I love Sanji, but right now at this point of the story, I'm gonna keep him at a 3.
Okay.
I think Robin is my. Did I put Sanji on at number 3? Yes. So Robin is my number 4.
Okay. And now, who doesn't make the list between Usopp and Chopper?
Nice try. Usopp and Chopper are the same person. One is a reindeer right now, and one is. They work so in tandem for me. I get equal joy. I would never put anyone at 6. They are a pair.
All right.
Yeah.
You've managed to have all of them.
Yeah. People are blasphemy. No, fight me. For me, Chopper, we still haven't seen as much as Usopp, and we've seen more growth. And I love where Usopp is going, and his intelligence level is moving up every single day.
So I think we're done. That was longer than I expected for Foxy, but for Long Ring Long Land. But we got 2 drawings. We got 2 videos.
I am loving your highlighting on this one. The choice of your icy blue is perfection.
Tried to go a little bit weird with it. Add some flair.
I love the flare. It fits the theme that we got from Foxy. I stand behind 100% that getting to do Foxy has been amazing because we got to see a pantomime, kabuki theater. We got to be hyped back up. I came into Water 7 ready to go. I was screaming, "Let's go!" standing on the ship with wind blowing through my hair, just like charging off into Water 7.
For adventure. In an arc that's certain to be upbeat and cheerful.
Yeah. And so next week, I'm going to be on doing all of Water 7. Oh my God.
If people want to be part of that, we're going to be reading up to 374 for next time. It's going to be a long one.
Yeah, it's a lot. You're going to love it.
Oh, we might be stopping sooner than that, I'm realizing.
What? What chapter am I supposed to read to?
Sorry, we're reading to 365. 366 to 374 is its own little zone that we're going to separate out because I think it'll be overlooked if we combine it with either the Water 7 or the one after. And also, it's so small that I think if we have a video all about it, Mama Drawk is going to have the option to read ahead like she did this time while we talked about Long Ring Longland, so that she can actually get through the next arc in a single week without taking a week off.
Okay, well then I will read up to 365.
Thank you guys so much for being here. This is such a blast, even if you made me do, like, I think 35 push-ups over the course of the stream. I'm shocked at how much fun I had talking about Long Ring Longland. I think I do like keeping CORK-BOARD as its own separate thing so that we can feel a little bit more free to journey outside the arc we read.
Yeah, you can ask me more questions and stuff with it as well.
I think it works out. Is there anything you want to say goodbye to everybody?
Uh-oh, sorry. Somebody gave you push-ups before you can do that.
Let me finish the signature, and then I'll go do the push-ups.
I'm pretty amazed that they managed to fit it in. All right. I've super appreciated today, guys. Thanks for sticking around to get to see the CORK-BOARD corner and all the weird ideas that I'm bouncing around in my head right now. It's always such a blast to be here with you guys. You're some of the best audiences I've ever seen on the internet. We are very, very lucky to have such a great community. We talk about that a lot. You guys bring us so much joy.
We are
That's
so
a joy
happy
for you. That's a joy for you guys, see?
Aww. We're so happy to have you. This has been such a fun journey. I'm having an absolute blast and wouldn't be what it is without everybody watching. Thank you guys so much. And until next time, it's been lovely talking to you. You watched One Piece? Okay, that's fair. Okay, let's do Alicia X Life.
Okay.
I just want it to be a safe stream, and I see an X of a woman's name in the stream, and I get nervous.
That is a great, fair thing to say.